Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Ryce. I'm your co-host, Jeanie Ryce, and we also have Dr. Tim Hayes with us. We welcome you to the show. Today is Friday, September the 26th, 2014. It's our Aramaic Fridays, but we got a message. Dr. Dale Hoffman, I call him doctor, that's so automatic. Dale Hoffman is having a retreat this weekend, and he's out of cell signal, so he's not going to be able to join us. But we will continue on with our Aramaic work, and he'll be with us next week. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1. That puts you in queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. We have another beautiful day here in northern Illinois and enjoying the sunshine and beautiful weather. We're holding this space, if everybody join us, for an Indian summer, so that all the way through our intensive, which ends on November 10th in Michigan, just south of Lansing, where we have Indian summer in this beautiful, awesome, sunny weather. It's just been gorgeous this week while we've been here. We had a fun night last night with Laws of Living. Of course, Laws of Living is a course that's based in the Aramaic, and as Jeanie said, Dale Hoffman and his website, if you want to check out what he's doing, is www.daleallenhoffman.com. Dale is just doing some awesome work with the Aramaic, taking the work of the foundation to another level in his world, and we much appreciate what he's the Aramaic. And as we work with these Aramaic ideas, something that becomes clearer and clearer to me is how many things cannot be said in English. There just aren't words for them. And though we bring forward a paragraph, like for instance, we've talked about the Beatitudes in the Aramaic, and obviously this is Yeshua's first public teaching, and he uses this word, tuvehun, the translation, through the Greek translations, it's said to be blessed are they, but tuvehun is the Aramaic word, is used repeatedly. There must be something really important about this word, and believe me, it's not just blessed are they. It's not, the implication through the Greek translations is something outside of you will bless you if you, followed somebody's rules. And, when you come to the Aramaic, as we talked about last night, our course was Laws of Living, and Laws of Living, the law is not a set of rules, as we've been taught. There's so many words that the meanings have been changed. Not only are they inaccessible in English, but the meanings have been changed. We've been taught that law is the rule of a superior. There is no superior involved in the laws of living. There is no superior in law as is taught from the Aramaic. Men have been trained through thousands of years of distorted language to think of, just give me the set of rules and I'll follow them. If you give me a set of rules, that will achieve a human life for me, right? No. You can do all of the things in the world that the actual presence of a human life, that actual love would do. You can do all those things and still have no love, still have no presence of a human life. It isn't about doing. It isn't about following rules. Law just happens in Aramaic. They understand that there are ways that the energies move in the universe, and you have to come into relationship with them. And so when Yeshua says repeatedly, blessed are they, blessed are they, blessed are they, blessed are they, in Aramaic what he's saying is, tuvehun, 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 tuvehun. As opposed to the achieving of learning a set of superiors' rules and obeying them, in Aramaic that word tuvehun speaks about the activation of a neural structure in you. If you don't have that neural structure activated, then you're in trouble. So the word tuvehun is a three-part word. What it says is there's a neural structure in you designed to guide you to happiness and well-being. And for most people, it is unconscious. It is hidden. It is hidden by all the hostilities, fears, and errant words of the world. And so when we lose contact with that, then we live out of this multi-generational database we call a body-mind unit, and by doing so, we are cut off from the actual guidance system that was given to us, that was known in the Aramaic, that was spoken of in the Aramaic. We're cut off from it. And what you find in the Aramaic Beatitudes is a set of instructions for how to activate that neural structure. The first instruction we're told by the Greeks, and get that this is just totally corrupt data, totally corrupt information. There is so much that is just totally and completely cut out of the equation. Though people would stand around and say, no, nobody would ever change one jot or tittle. Excuse me, but in America, if you want to write a new version of the Bible, you have to change at least 25% of the words. Nobody would change one jot or tittle. Oh, well, they didn't change any important words. Oh, yes, they did. Excuse me. One of the most important ones is they made two Begum, blessed are they. So what Yeshua is saying at the beginning of each of the Beatitudes is you've got to activate this neural structure that was given to you to guide you to happiness and well-being. It is presently unconscious in you. And the first Beatitude, we're told that you're supposed to be poor in spirit. You know, think about this, folks. Here's a man who says, I come to connect you to the spirit of truth. And now they're telling us that he's saying, be poor in that spirit. How insane is that? That's a degradation of the words. And one of the ways we know of the primacy, that is, that the original work was written in Aramaic, is by some of the mistranslations. And this word poor is one of them. There are eternal forces in nature that create eternal laws, and there is an eternal flow of energy in the world. If we live in relationship to those eternal forces, then we are always guided in everything we need to do. If we lose contact with those eternal forces because something based in hostility or fear comes up in us, then we're blocked from the guidance system that will always teach us the truth and always take care of everything for us. So when they translated the word home to poor, all it took was a fly speck on a piece of paper, one little jot, and all of a sudden the word home became poor. So now, and I've listened to preachers make some mighty, mighty big stretches to try to make it logical that you should be poor in that which Yeshua came to connect you with. But he didn't say that. He didn't say that. What he said is, you've got to have your home in the eternal forces from God. Not follow my rules. Not call my name. Not follow some preacher's rules. You have to have this. You personally have to do what it takes to achieve this contact with the eternal forces, which means you've got to live with the active presence of love in your mind. You can't call on somebody else to do that for you. You can call on support and assistance to get there, but you've got to do that. This soft, this namby-pamby theology of just say some magic name will trap you in a lie if you can't see the falsity of it. You've got to love truth. That's one of the eternal forces. And so what Yeshua says is the first beatitude is, if you want this neural structure that will guide you to happiness and well-being activated, have this neural structure active in you and live in relationship to the eternal forces rather than your mind based in hostility or fear. Every time your mind comes up with guidance based in hostility or fear, it's lying to you, and it cannot show you how to reduce your stress. It cannot show you how to correct what's going on in your world. Home in the eternal forces is what was taught 2,000 years ago. There's no relationship to being poor in spirit. So when you get back to those original Aramaic concepts, you've got to understand them in their original context to make sense of them and to bring them to fruition in your life. We're here to support every person bringing to fruition in their lives direct relationship with the eternal forces that came from the Creator. They will guide you. They will tell you. They will show you what's happening. They will teach you. And as they teach you, the next step, the next beatitude says that you have to love truth enough to look into your errors in thought. And this is a tough one for many because they've been beaten into submission through terror and fear of hell that they have to accept what somebody else said. But what this next beatitude says is, you must look into the errors of your society. If your society has trained you through fear, it has trained you in lies. You must love truth enough to look into those errors and correct them. It takes courage to do that one. A lot of courage. Because what you'll be facing is generations and generations and generations of being pounded on with terror in the name of God. Correction comes when you're willing to love truth enough to really, truly inquire honestly of everything you've ever been taught. The errors of yourself, the errors of your culture. Everything begins to change. And what that does is it produces a result of a purified mind where you don't have trauma, you don't have drama, you don't have nightmares, you don't have pain. You move into a different world. If you have any of those things, there's just work to be done, that's all. It's just the next level of the work that needs to be done to clean out from this multi-generational database called the body-mind unit what never belonged. And the clean-out tool is called forgiveness. So we're here to support the understanding of the original Aramaic word forgive, which the Greeks have taught us it's about how I let you off the hook because you're to blame for what's happening in me. Another major error of virtually every theological system on the planet today. Virtually every theological system on the planet today teaches a gross, grave, blatant error. Excuse me, folks. These folks are not infallible. You got to start to question them. They taught you that forgiveness means I'll let you off the hook for what's happening in me. If I let you off the hook for what's happening in me, have I done anything to change what's happening in me? Absolutely nothing. If I stay in denial and believe that I need to let you off the hook, that I can't question what I've been taught, that it is infallible and it is the truth and it is the way, then I've been lied to. And I need to be loving truth enough to clean that up. It's a major, major transition and a major piece of work to do. And so what we're here to do is to support you in making that transition into such a love of truth that you literally come to the point where you personally do what it takes to live in relationship with the eternal forces, and you will be guided in every aspect of your life. The only place you will not be guided correctly is where you have unresolved pain or trauma. If there's something in your history, if there are power person dynamics in your life that you're unwilling to come into conscious relationship with and clean out, then your guidance system will be in total error. Your guidance system will be off. You'll think you're getting guidance when what you listen to is your own hostility and fear-based mind. And it's subtle, you know. You go back to Yeshua, he says the pathway is really narrow, folks. Few are that will find it. You will not find it out of the Greek translations of his words. It cannot be found there. It is impossible to find it there. Take a look. So many people based in those teachings have been murdered for owning a Bible. Do you know how many? Millions down through the ages. Millions. So when you go back and the ability to start to comprehend from the Aramaic what these words mean, what these instruction sets mean, is paramount. And we are so awesomely blessed that we have had the opportunity to work with the first century meanings of the words of Yeshua in Aramaic, and then take them into the classroom and refine the understanding of them to the point where there are many of the tools, and not that we've got it all perfectly, not we've got it all down pat yet. We don't know what we don't know from the Aramaic. But we have learned enough that each person who engages in the tools, there's nothing to believe, nothing to buy. Just take the tools and put them to work. And, of course, you're welcome to go to our website. There's all kinds of free information there. If you go to www.whyagain.org, you see a bullseye in the center of the page. That'll start you out with your first worksheet and how to do the Aramaic forgiveness process, which is how to go inside yourself and remove the root of your pain, your fear, your grief. If you're living in your pain, your fear, your grief, your rage, your sadness, if you're still capable of those things, then your home is not in the eternal forces from God. Your home is in your pain, your trauma, your drama. And the power of being able to open to a safe space and allow all of those energies to come forward and heal is monumental. And that's what we're looking to create. And so here we are in Woodstock, Illinois. Tonight is our last workshop, our last workshop of this week in the free series. And tonight is Getting the Stress You Need. So anybody that's near Woodstock, Illinois, come join us at Unity at 7 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow we are doing MindShifters and Still Point Breathing. We'll start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it looks like a kind of a small group, so we may finish a little bit early, but probably sometime between 5 and 6 o'clock. And then we've scheduled an additional workshop that wasn't originally on the schedule for Sunday afternoon. We've actually got a videographer who's coming to do a new video. We have a brand new worksheet, some significant changes in the worksheet, and I thank Julie for really spending time with it and getting on the phone with me this morning and giving me some really beautiful new little nuances, actually more with the layout of the worksheet and strengthening some of the ideas. So thank you, Julie, for that. It's awesome. And if you'd like to tap into that worksheet, the latest worksheet is on the website, www.whyagain.org. And actually, I've just made some of the changes, or I'm just finishing off making some of the changes, and I'll send it to that Julie had input, and I'll send it to Jeanie, and she can pop it up on the website, so that if you want to download it, maybe within just an hour or so after the show, there are just some subtle refinements from the one we put out yesterday. So it is awesome to have the support that we have. It is awesome, Dr. Tim, to have you on our team. The space you're here anchoring for us in the work you're doing, the solid rock that you are every night of the workshop, that you're taking the time out of your busy schedule in your life to be there and support us is an awesome blessing. And, we're doing a video on Sunday of Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And the videographer that we originally had kind of fell out and wasn't working, so the budget kind of tripled, or a little better than tripled, and Dr. Tim was there and jumped in and said, I'll pay for part of it. I'll help to cover the budget aspect of it. So, Dr. Tim, thank you for just the monumental support that you are and the rock that you are with this work, and the work that you do with others, with yourself, the work that you share with us of yourself is just, there aren't words big enough. Thank you.
Well, you're entirely welcome and deserving, and it's I'd have to go a ways to match what you and Jeanie are doing in terms of your time and commitment to spread this work, and I'm just privileged to be able to have the space and flexibility in my schedule to do that, and it's my honor.
Awesome.
I was going to say that we were talking about the Aramaic, and I bring this up a lot because it's a cornerstone of what I had learned in my life, and one of the things that really struck me in the 4-hour audio CD that I first heard of your work. And you talk about if you're going to try and learn a new concept that has a lot of depth to it, the more different angles or perspectives you can be shown that work from, the quicker you'll get it and the deeper you'll understand it. And so I have had access to several different interpretations of the Beatitudes from the ancient Aramaic. One of them is Guy Finley, and one of them is Dale Allen Hoffman, and one of them is Yeam, and one of them is yours. And what I love about it is how well these people who are coming at this from different translators and different sources, they're all coming up with things that are so compatible. They're not identical, but they're so compatible that it gives me a deeper, richer understanding. And Dale talks about when you make your home in the spirit as opposed to being poor in the spirit. And you talk about that. And then Dale hits it even harder and says, this word spirit didn't really exist in the ancient Aramaic. There was no concept of a disembodied soul or entity or spirit floating around outside. It had to do with an elemental force, like you keep talking about. It had to do with the breath. It meant more like the breath or the heartbeat or the wind. And so if you take that and you blend in, there is this latent neural structure implanted in you by God to break off the effects of your errors in thought and guide you to truth and happiness. You who make your home in your breath, in those eternal forces, you who can stand in the presence of someone who would be called Akil Karsa, I think that's the word that Dale talks about for enemy. And it doesn't mean enemy. The Greeks translated as enemy. In the ancient Aramaic, it meant anyone in the presence of whom you have the urge to hold your breath or to lock things down. If you can stay connected to those eternal forces, if you can stay consciously connected to your breath, breathe, feel, and allow those errors in thought and the errors in the thought of your culture to come forward and still breathe and still feel, you will be healed. You will be able to stay connected to those eternal forces. You will get the benefit. And I love the way you talk about it so often in your work. Yeah, somebody outside of you might have done this horrible thing, and maybe they deserve punishment or your anger, but the point is, do you deserve the disintegrating energy, the pain, the tension, the disruption in your cellular structure that you get when you generate, hold on to, and try to throw anger on somebody else? And we hope you've come up with the conclusion that no, you don't deserve that you didn't deserve anything or do anything to deserve this horrible thing that this other person did, and then you certainly don't deserve the disintegrating effects of anger to be thrown on top of it. So if you can stand in the presence of someone that we would label enemy in this culture, but which means anyone who triggers me to want to hold my breath or lock down my energy so I don't feel something, if I can stay connected to those eternal forces, including my breath, if I can breathe through that moment and demonstrate to myself at deeper and deeper levels my ability to stay connected with my conscious awareness to my true nature as love, I will be healed. So that's what you sparked. That's what got triggered in me when you were talking.
Powerful perspective, Tim, and we'll play tennis here. What you trigger in me with those words is how provincial the world has become, how ignorant the world is when, out of hand, it discards this awesome depth of knowledge. Because, usually my experience in working with people who, there's no God, forget that religious stuff, forget that whole thing. There's just no clue as to the wisdom, the healing power, the possibility that's there. And people do this over their own hurt feelings and ignorance of law, ignorance of the way the eternal forces move. It's like somebody who rails against what Yeshua taught about, let's say the first law, you keep Rakhma, you keep love in your mind. Somebody who rails against that is about as ignorant as someone who would say, I don't think the law of gravity exists. It has no effect on me. Just watch. I'll go step off that 2,000-foot cliff. Well, good luck. Because that kind of ignorance means you're going down the tubes. You're going to be in pieces when you get to the bottom. Cancel the thought. But the person who we could say kind of metaphorically would say, oh, that love stuff, forget it. What we need is war. What we need is just as ignorant as the person who would say, I'm going to ignore gravity and step off the cliff. Ignore these eternal forces at your own peril. Now, gravity's pretty obvious to everybody. Everybody knows, kind of has an idea how it works. You don't get a choice about it. You don't get to say, well, I think I'll change the law of gravity tomorrow morning. I'm going to have my feet go up instead of go down when I get out of bed. You don't get to do that. You may not like gravity, but you don't have any choice about it. It is a law. It is the result of eternal forces. Well, guess what? The same laws exist, unseen and unknown. The 3-year-old who doesn't understand gravity goes over to the cliff, cancels the thought, and falls over it because it has no knowledge. People who out of hand discard these ancient teachings because some preacher who didn't know them and programmed them and brainwashed them and beat on them with hostility and fear did that. They've rejected, and they put themselves in such peril. And it's not the peril of, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. It's a much more eminent peril. The peril is you don't get to live as a human being if you don't have some comprehension of how these energetic forces, how these eternal forces operate, and how they move in you. And that's a pretty dastardly loss. And so if you have out of hand rejected any of this, here's my invitation. Don't believe a word I've got to say. This whole teaching requires absolutely no belief. The reason it requires no belief is because there's only truth in it. Anything that doesn't have truth in it says, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. You don't have to believe. Don't believe anything I'm saying. What I have here is a set of tools. I'm going to offer you these tools. Take them, put them to work in your life, and watch what happens. They are a recipe for producing results. Now, let's say that I describe to you a cake. This awesome, actually the other night at the workshop, this young lady just created this awesome flourless chocolate cake. And, it was just amazing. But if I describe that cake to you and I tell you all about it, you will never have a taste of it by me telling you about it. And I can't teach you, she can't teach you cake. Mary can't stand in the living room and say, here, cake, now you make one. But Mary can give you the recipe. Why do people who don't know require belief? Because they don't have the recipe. Now, you may not believe in this chocolate cake. You may not believe that this was, we violated the sugar rule for sure. You may not believe that such an awesome chocolate cake could exist. Don't believe it. But here, I'll give you the recipe. Make the recipe and taste. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So anybody who doesn't understand these eternal forces relies on belief and says, you got to be a believer, you better believe. You don't have to believe anything. What happens is when you use the recipe, which is the law, you produce a result. It's a reliable way of producing a result. You want to produce a result of a life that's alive and joyful and delightful, then there are laws for doing that. You can't do the world through hostility, fear, grief, rage, blame, sarcasm, cynicism, and get a happy life. You can't do it. It's like you can't. It's the wrong recipe. If you want a miserable life, there's a recipe out there, and the world's teaching it. The world, the television set is one of the finest tutors ever for how to destroy a life. You just listen to the news every day. You just listen to those sitcoms where those sarcastic barbs are taken at people that supposedly are loved. You just listen to the hate speech, the fear, the rage. You just listen to the political system and how these people speak to each other. There was an interesting post the other day on Facebook, and it had the donkey and the elephant sitting in front of a therapist. and they're beginning their conversation. The donkey turns to the elephant and says, "I hate you." And the elephant turns to the donkey and says, "I hate you." And the therapist says, "Well, okay, now that you got that straight, I want you to both know that I hate both of you." There's the recipe for an insane, pained, traumatic life and a horribly painful death. It's a recipe. You follow it, you got it. And you don't have to believe in any of this love stuff. But if you'll take the recipe, you'll taste the cake. That's all. And there have been many, many deviations in the name of what Yeshua taught 2,000 years ago that are not from him or about him. Love the truth enough to question the deviations. Enter into the use of the tools. You will have a recipe that will put you right square in relationship with the eternal forces. And you just can't beat the delight of that. It just gets more delightful and awesome every day. Would that be a truism for you, Dr. Tim? Would that be your experience?
He actually has dropped. He has actually dropped off. So he had said that he was going to have to be on the road at 12:30. So, oh wait, it looks like he's back. Hold on, let me turn him back on. Okay, Dr. Tim.
Yes, I just had to switch over to the cell phone. But yes, I have to agree wholeheartedly. I love this new little patter about the recipe and not being able to teach the experience, but to be able to teach the recipe. And yeah, don't believe us at all about that flourless chocolate cake. Just make the recipe. Don't believe us at all about it. Yeah, and don't believe us at all about the benefits of the worksheet process or the workshop you're going to teach on Sunday. Come out and do it for yourself. And I agree wholeheartedly that it gets better beyond words. There is no way for me to put into words today how much better my life is than it was 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago or 12 when I first encountered this work. And at the same time, I have to say I know people who were exposed to this work 10 and 12 and 15 years ago who would not say the same thing. And the essence of why they wouldn't say the same thing is they're not using the tools. And so it isn't just getting exposed to the work. Just like I could hand you the recipe for the flourless chocolate cake, you could put it in your pocket, and you would never know the taste of that flourless chocolate cake. It actually takes the doing. And there's no belief necessary. As a matter of fact, I love the idea of Dale talking about the ancient Aramaic and the word faith. And it really lit me up when I first heard him say this. He said, the word faith in Aramaic means acting, not standing back watching, thinking, but acting from the rooted center of my being. So have faith in the chocolate cake in that sense. Take action to repeat the recipe. Have faith in this worksheet process from that perspective. Take action from the rooted center of your being. Pick up the worksheet and try it out. Put the pen on the paper. There's no believing required. And in that sense, there's no believing required for that definition of faith. You just take action. You take action from the rooted center of your being, which is that essence of love. That would be what got triggered in me.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And so, Jeanie, do we have anybody with a hand up?
Nobody has a hand up, but in the chat room we were talking. Lonnie is back, Peacemaker. He got out of the hospital yesterday, so he got good news that even though they removed the mass and did some surgery on his lung and everything, and he's in physical pain, but there was no cancer, and so he's doing phenomenal. just dealing with the pain that's going on from the surgery right now. So we still hold him in the space. But then we were also chatting with Mariana, and she's going through some physical issues too. And so Nene wrote in there, she's in the chat room with us, and she said, using the tool is number one priority to experience the healing, and practice makes it better each time. I got to thinking about what the example that Dr. Tim was giving us the other day of having a cast on the arm, and how the cast holds the arm in place while the healing happens, but the cast isn't what does the healing. And it's the same thing with the work. You know, we can do all these things so-called physically, you know, take supplements and do all the right things, but the ultimate healing is going to come from inside.
Absolutely. What it's all about, Alfie. So our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Pick up the phone, give us a call. If Dr. Tim, if Jeanie and I had been on a stage doing a presentation in your town, and we completed that presentation, walked off the stage, you'd be coming over and asking Tim, myself, Jeanie some questions. If you're in the phone queue, all you have to do is push 1, and that will put a little hand up, and Jeanie will be able to introduce you to the show, and we'll get to chat. If you're in the chat room, of course, you can type your question in the chat room, although I'd prefer to have it verbally, because that way I get a little more to tap into your energy, and as we tap into the energy, we get to get better guidance on how it all comes together. So 646-200-4169. Give us a call. Ask you a question. We'd be delighted to create support and share our answers with you.
So we have a hand up. It's area code 413. You're on the air.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Dr. Tim. Hi, Jeanie. It's Linda from Massachusetts.
Hey, welcome, lady.
Hi. I have a question about the word belief. I loved what Tim said about faith meaning taking action. And from my understanding and reading of the Bible, Jesus or Yeshua said, believe on me. You seem to use that word a lot. Could you tell me what your experience of that word is?
Yes. Yeah. That's a Greek idea. In Aramaic, what he's saying is more akin to take what I've given you and live it. You know, that first beatitude, you want to have your home in the eternal forces from God. You want to be living there. Not a belief in something outside of you, but move yourself into the experience by taking action, as Dr. Tim said, from the rooted center of your being. So it's the action you take as you live it. It's not just an intellectual concept. All right. Delighted. Glad that you're with us.
Me too.
And
Michael,
Linda,
we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. How else can we support you?
Well, just doing your show supports me a lot right now, and Ken and I are taking off for a weekend up in Maine just to relax on the beach for a couple of days and breathe.
Nice.
Integrated all the work I've been doing with Julie for the past couple of weeks, and yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Your meditation tape mailed out on the 23rd, so it should be getting there any day.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope it gets there in time for you to take to work with as you breathe on the beach. That's awesome. And where is it that you're going?
We're just going up to the coast of Maine for a couple of nights.
Nice.
Yeah, just to do nothing. That'll be nice.
Awesome. Well, tell Ken we said hello. We send our love. We'll look forward to the next time we get to see him face to face.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Okay. Blessings and appreciation. Bye-bye.
And Michael, it brings to mind the segment you did last night in the workshop where you talked about the phrase, eat my body and drink my blood, which the Greeks and others want to translate literally, but you're talking about it as an idiom. And I think that's appropriate to what she's asking there.
Yes. There's a point where Yeshua says that, in the Greek translations, it says, eat my body and drink my blood. And if you check into, even today, this is a first century idiom, but it's an idiom that's still in use today. People have interpreted that as going to communion. But in Aramaic, that idiom, eat my body and drink my blood, means you've got to integrate everything that I know. He says, you can do the same things I'm doing. You won't do that by believing in it. You'll do that by integrating what I know. And somebody said to me back there, if you could mute your phone. Somebody mute your phone. Could you mute? Please? Good, thank you. So let's imagine in a different context. Let's imagine that, the example I like to use is I'm make the finest cabinets in the world. I mean, just the most beautiful, awesome cabinets in the world. And you look at it and you go, Michael, I would love to make cabinets like you. If I were Aramaic, then I would say, great, I'll be glad to teach you, and all you'll have to do to make cabinets like me is eat my body and drink my blood. In other words, you're going to have to you're not going to have to believe, you can believe that I make the finest cabinets in the world. So the cows come home. You can believe that, you can make the finest cabinets in the world even better than I. But if you don't put that into action, if you don't be living it, then you're not going to integrate what I know, and your cabinets are going to be shoddy by comparison. In exactly the same way, the life that we produce, the life that we craft from what we engage in energetically within us. Yeshua says, I have words that will describe how you can achieve a perfect life. Now you have to do it. Now you have to eat my body and drink my blood. Now, that doesn't mean that, you have to put all these words in your head. I can take this person and train them to make a cabinet. I can have them stand there and watch me make every move, explain how it's all done. But if they don't actually put their hands on the wood, if they don't actually put their hands on the tool, if they don't actually take this little corner and learn exactly how to hold the knife to make it perfect, then when they're going to make a cabinet, they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to craft a cabinet like the master craftsman can, and you're not going to be able to craft a life like the master did. You can do that. He assures us of that. But you got to eat his body, drink his blood. You've got to take it all in, and then you have to put it into practice. Belief is not practice. But he says, and you look at the commands that he gives, the things that he says. First thing he says you have to do. Now, he doesn't say, this is how you become, he doesn't say as the misinterpreted Greek ideas. You're in the family by adoption. This is how you become adopted, by saying certain words about Jesus. Jesus says in the Beatitudes, here's how you become a son or daughter of the Creator. And the Creator is love, so son or daughter of love. And what he says is, if you look at the Beatitude, and it's the one about the peacemakers, and peacemaker, we're glad you're doing well and that you're clean, and that's awesome. Congratulations. We continue to hold the space. But, that Beatitude that speaks about the peacemakers, in Aramaic, what it says is, those who through service, and there's a distinct component of service, work effectively to produce the peace and understanding under and in accord with love's will, they will be called the children of God. Do you want to be called the child of God? Which do you suppose was accurate? The magic words about Jesus and his name, or believe what he actually said you had to do? You have to work effectively and serve humanity in producing the peace and understanding under and accord with God's will. That's how you move into that club. You don't move into the club through some kind of words or any kind of belief. It just isn't there any more than you can make the cabinet without putting your hands on the wood. And yes, with the master cabinet maker, I'm going to correct the way you hold the knife. I'm going to correct the way you hold the saw, the file. I'm going to do all of that piece by piece by piece. And then as you're able to replicate, as you have totally integrated everything that I know, you will make the most awesome cabinets going. You will craft the most awesome life going. You want to be known as the offspring of the Creator, a son or daughter of love? Work effectively to produce the peace and understanding in accord with God's will. You will do that through service. And then, that's what you are. There's work to be done. It isn't just about something magical. There's work to be done. And we're here to support you in understanding and integrating that work, really taking it all in. And I hear a voice in the background, but I can't tell what it's saying.
I was just going to say that Nene is on the line, and she wants to share something about the quote-unquote body.
Oh,
welcome,
Nene.
Nene.
Hey, Nene, we haven't heard from you in a while. I hope we'll get to see you when we're in Florida.
Hi, hello. Yes, of course. Completely positive. Yes, I would like to share a very interesting experience. And before doing this amazing spiritual work and the breath work, and after. I went to Venezuela. I went to Venezuela during the summer. To visit my daughter. She's in rehab and she's doing a lot better and everything. And then I had the opportunity to do all my medical checkup. And they found some cyst in my back. And I remember 20 years ago that I had a small surgery, a cyst in my back. So I hesitated, but then I said, no, let's get rid of it. And I did. And I remember my first experience 20 years ago when I woke up after the surgery. I fainted. I was dehydrated, a lot of pain, bruises, everything. And I just had a surgery like 5 weeks ago, and the doctor herself, she was so amazed. I had no bruise. I woke up perfectly hydrated. She asked me, what are you doing? This is a completely different experience. In the surgery room was amazed and impressed that you didn't bleed at all. So I can think is the cleansing, and like you say, that you start healing, and then you have your energy and your cells are more powerful, more younger. That's what I can.
Awesome. Yeah, doing your work works. I know I was talking with a young lady the other night at the workshop, and she had some floaters in her eye, and she did worksheets, and she really did her work around it, did some breathing, but the floaters wouldn't go away. So finally, I think she said after 9 days, she decided to go and see her ophthalmologist. And her ophthalmologist looked at her eye and said, oh, my God, you've got a tear in your retina. She looked online, actually, and the symptoms that she had pointed to a detached retina. And so she went to her ophthalmologist. Her ophthalmologist looked at her eye and said, oh, you've got a little tear in your retina. When did this first happen? She went 9 days ago. Well, your retina should be detached. Once that opens and the fluid gets in there, that should it's miraculous. It's like never seen it before. She did her work. Yep, she needed some assistance in getting this small tear repaired. But instead of the tear turning into a totally detached retina, it was just a small tear. It took them a few seconds to do a laser and seal it back up again, and off she goes. So doing your work has so many benefits in so many directions. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, and it was the same doctor, so for me it was a very exciting experience. And as I tell people, it's not to breathe one or twice. You have to breathe constantly. You have to do your worksheet constantly. Whenever you're triggered, you have to immediately respond differently, and you have to breathe when there's something is going with a challenge. It's a continuous, it's a lifestyle. Plus the food, of course. Eating raw, it's great.
You listen to Yeshua as he speaks about this, and he speaks to the people who are down on him, the provincials, the people who don't know any better, and he tells them who their father is. And their father is hostility and fear. And they are locked into lies. He says, we have different fathers. Your father is a liar because you live in a world of blame, and it's all about somebody else. And so your mind is lying to you continuously. And that's the source of your thinking. And that's what the world has taught most of us to do. He says, and he's not talking about theology here, he says, I have a different father. I am guided and directed from a different source. The source I'm guided and directed from is love. It is not the hostility and fear that you're guided from. So you're right on track when you say that, Renee, that you have to do your work every day. It's an ongoing daily process to deal with hostility and fear, the generational patterns, remove all of the corrupt data from your mind so that truly you live in a world where your father, that is that which sires the output of your mind, is love rather than the culture's hostility and fear. And the culture is just continuously dragging people into this hostility and fear-based thinking that's crazy and destroys life. It's a perfect recipe for a destroyed life. Sooner or later, somebody has to make their decisions as to which direction they're going to go in.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yes,
well, thank you for your input. We look forward to seeing you when we get to Florida.
Yes, me too. I just want to say thank you to New Age Books and Things that hosted me. And it was a small group, but very nice. And, it's always great to teach the Why Again workshop. And I look forward to taking it again, maybe the students again.
Cool. Awesome.
Hugs and kisses for everybody. Ciao.
All right. Blessings. Take care. Bye-bye. Nice to hear your voice. Okay, we got a few minutes left. 646-200-4169. If you have a question for us, if there's something we can help to clarify, then that's what we're here to do. And we're delighted to be of service. This is our form of, through service, bringing about peace and understanding under and in accord with love's will. And what an awesome opportunity to be able to do that.
Michael?
Jeanie, anything else? Yes, sweet.
There was a question earlier in the chat room, and I'm scrolling down to try to find it right now. You had mentioned something about that if you were in pain and trauma that you wouldn't be receiving your highest guidance. And I had responded to that it was that I would ask you to, expand on that, but in my viewpoint was that it depended on where your focus was, that, there's pain and trauma, that comes our way. And it's up to us whether we focus on that or we focus on something else. And I use the example, as I often use, of the disciple walking on water during the storm. And he did fine and was walking water as long as he kept his focus where he was going. But when he started looking around at the storm, then he started to sink. And that is the same in our life, that trauma and pain and different things come our way. But if we focus on it, that we can actually sink. But that if we stay focused on where we're going, that we can move through it. And it doesn't mean it's going to go away. We're still going to experience it, but we can experience it in a different way.
Well, and we can transform it by, the recipe for healing those issues is that when instead of getting lost in my hostility or fear, something comes my way that I don't like, and it resonates hostility or fear in me. If I choose to live inside of the law, the first law is I keep love present in my mind, so I'm going to make sure that I stay connected to the active presence of love. And in the active presence of love, I'll begin to dissolve any hostility or fear in me. And then, rather than the storm coming from inside of me, the storm might be around me. Things will come along that I won't like. But do I follow the recipe for a sane life? Do I maintain the active presence of love in my mind? Or do I follow the recipe for an insane life? I don't like what's happening here, and I'm going to rage and guilt somebody, grief and pain and trauma. Which recipe do I choose to follow? There's a way to reliably create a pleasant, wondrous, awesome life. And there's a way to create an insane life. And, of course, looking into our errors in thought and the errors of our society and taking responsibility for maintaining that presence of love is how to create that sane life. And that's what we're here to support everybody on the planet doing. It's an awesome opportunity. And speaking of awesome opportunities, I'm actually now sitting out in the backyard. I just let the dog out here. I'm sitting out in a beautiful sunshine, clear blue sky. And there's an awesome, probably, 40, 50-foot diameter tree. The branches reach out. It's just so incredibly beautiful. And
your voice is cutting out, Michael.
Oh, okay. Am I back?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so 646-200-4169. We've got a couple of minutes left. Anybody have a question or a thought for us?
Nene said that she had meant to add that after the surgery that she listened to your 20-minute meditation tape every day for 10 days, and that also helped her.
Cool. Wonderful.
Yeah. So we are down to just a few minutes. So if somebody presses 1, you're first in line. We actually only have 2 minutes left. So, Michael, maybe you want to talk about a couple of the upcoming things?
And we'll close the show out. So we are in Woodstock, Illinois. Tonight we're doing Getting the Stress You Need, a free open workshop. Come and join us Sunday afternoon from 1 to 5. Again, a free open workshop. Why is this happening to me again? Tomorrow, there is one paid workshop when we travel that we do. It's an all-day, process-oriented workshop. It'll start about 8 in the morning, go through 6. It's MindShifters and Still-Point Breathing. So you're certainly welcome to come and join us for that if you're in the Chicagoland area. We'll be leaving here and going up to the peninsula in Michigan, spending a few days with some friends, doing some writing, visiting with my brother who's coming over from Canada. And then we'll be in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Spiritual Unity of Nations Conference will be keynoting. It'll be an all-day Saturday conference, and that's 2 weeks from tomorrow. And then the next day we'll be at Unity in Grand Rapids, and we'll be doing a full week of workshops similar to what we've done here. We'll finish there, and then we'll go do a full week of workshops in Lansing, Michigan. Head to the intensive in Pinckney, Michigan. We'll be doing a 9-day codependence to interdependence. If anybody wants to, get into some beautiful, we're holding the space, and we're going to have just beautiful fall colors for that intensive, and it'll be a residential food accommodations workshop materials. The flyers on the website. You're welcome to look at that. Then we'll actually be heading to Bristol, doing some work with Dr. Schrenker there, and then to Wilmington, North Carolina, doing a week of workshops there, and then on into Florida. You can check our website out, share the tools with somebody, do some service. Through service, work effectively to produce that peace and understanding. And in doing so, you'll create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Talk to you tomorrow on Monday. Bye-bye.